In this video, we're going to be talking about the math requirements at UNLV, and students are required to complete 3 credits of math in order to graduate. And just like for your English, you have to have an ACT or an SAT score on file before you can register for those classes. So let's say you don't have an ACT or an SAT, or you've scored below a 20 or below a 500. Then the math class you would need to register first would be for Math 95. If you've scored at least a 20 or at least a 500, then that places you into Math 96. If you've scored at least a 21 or a 510, this places you into Math 120, which is fundamentals of math. And then the next part here, this is where it gets kind of interesting, is if you've scored a 22 or a 520, then you have some options here. You could take Math 122, 124, or 126. So if you scored at least a 22 or 520, you have 3 courses that you can pick from. And you might not know what these are yet, which is fine, because these are going to be based on your major. So when you select your major, they're going to let you know, okay, you'll need to take Math 122, 124, or 126, depending on the major you pick. So again, if you're not sure what it is right now, that's okay. We can go into a little bit more about that with you when you have an idea of what major you want. But moving on, if you've scored at least a 25 or a 560, that places you into Math 127 or Math 128. And then finally, if you've scored at least a 28 or higher or a 630 or higher, that places you into Math 181, which for your information is calculus. Now, the important thing to remember though here is that these 2 courses, Math 95 and 96, if you place it in them, these do not apply towards the 3 credit requirement. Okay? They don't apply towards the 3 credit graduation requirement. So you have to actually complete one of these 100 level or higher courses for it to count towards your general education requirement. So keep that in mind when you're registering for classes. But some of you may have to take Math 95 in order to get to Math 96, and then Math 96 in order to take one of these other ones down here. Okay? And again, just keep that in mind when you're looking at your scores for your registration. Okay, so if you look at your general education requirement sheet, which should have the math portion on there, should look something like this. You can see that based off your scores, they're also right here as well. But again, depending on your major, you may have to do Math 120, Math 124, Math 126. So if you look down here, if you're thinking about some of these majors, you may only have to take Math 120, or if you are thinking about some of these majors over here, then you'll need to take Math 126 or calculus, or depending on what they require. Again, these are just general guidelines. These are not hard set rules, because there's a lot more majors than we have room for on the sheet. But if you have more questions, just let us know, and we can help you figure that out.